What if you could take that risk, make that change, reach that goal, live your best life? Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast, where we get together with amazing experts and everyday people who share challenges, encourage healing, and explore the possibilities that life has to offer. I'm your host, Gary Scott, and I'm excited that you're along for the ride. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast. And my amazing guest is Mr. Elroy Waters. Hello, Elroy.
Hi there. How you doing, Mr. Scott?
I am living the dream, buddy. You know that. I'm always living the dream. Even when I'm not, even when I'm so full of shit, I'm still living the
100,
dream.
100%.
Right. Got to do it. But so, hey guys, I'm gonna go ahead and read Elroy's intro real quick, and then we're gonna jump in the pool. So, about Elroy Waters, his mission is straightforward. Elroy wants to empower 1 million people from all walks of life to harness and responsibly use the transformative power of artificial intelligence. Together, we will rise to meet the world's most pressing challenges, shaping the future where humanity and technology thrive in harmony. Easy peasy, right, bud? I mean, that sounds like easy.
We're gonna do something else next week. That's what we're doing this week.
Well, we're going to go from 1 million to 1 billion, but
Exactly right.
we're starting easy, right? We're
Piece of
starting
cake.
easy. So,
Piece of cake.
so again, man, thank you so much for being here. And like I said, I just have one question out the gate. I'm going to get that out of the way because your topics are so fascinating. So, Mr. Waters, have you ever had a what if you could moment? Have you ever had a what if you could thought, or we're the what if you could podcast? Is there a what if you could that you'd love to share with the gang before we get started?
Yeah. And I think you really just kind of hit the nail on the head. My what if I could is what if I could. And it's weird. Your name, your mind jumps to a billion because there's a billion or multiple billions of people on the planet. But I was like, okay, let's hedge that down to 1 million. What if I could help 1 million people responsibly use this tool? Because a lot of people are afraid of the tools and the promise of the tools and what people are wanting these tools to do lends itself to we need to actually know how to use these responsibly. And we need to make sure that we're setting ourselves, our families, our communities up for success. And I think that the moment that I had that initial realization, the moment I had that initial what if I could moment, um, I think it was back in the winter of 2022, just like everybody else who hasn't been around the AI game since 1956, like a computer scientist, right? Um, right, yeah. I was um I was doing the prompts with ChatGPT after my dad, who's a computer scientist, he's the one who told me about it. And he kind of pitched it okay. He's not a sales guy, he's a tech guy. So, I was like, he told me a little bit about chat, like what he said it was. And I was like, that's good for computer scientists. He was like, no, like this thing can do. He's like, you could talk to this thing about like anything and it'll give you like a solid answer for it. I was like, what? He was like, yeah. He's like, you should check it out. So my what if I could moment came in after I did my first initial prompts. And moving into that a few years ago, I was introduced to the reality that technology advances exponentially, right? So the amount of time it took us to go from horse to car was a few hundred years. And then the amount of time it takes you to go from car to plane is significantly shorter. Plane to rocket ship, even shorter, right? And so my thoughts then, if this technology is this good now, this world is going to be completely different for well, it didn't have my son then, so it was my daughter, but now my kids. And ever since then, I felt the responsibility to know as much as I could about these tools because I want to make sure that my kids and the future generation has a leg up. And I think that's where the what if I could empower other people with that sense of responsibility and also to like not be afraid of the tool. We should be afraid if we don't engage with it. If we kind of just let whoever do whatever they want with the tool, we should be very freaking scared. But if
Yeah,
we
for sure.
right, but if we do our level best to actually understand what this thing is, what this thing isn't, and do our best to kind of help shape the future of the technology, then at least we have a fighting shot. And I think that's where that's where that what if I could moment came from. I was looking at my kids. And I was like, by the time that my daughter's 18 and my son is 15, this world's gonna be completely different because of AI technology.
Man, yeah.
Hmm.
You opened up just a whole bunch of rabbit holes, and that's my favorite thing.
I love
Because
rabbit
you've
holes.
got my son who's 32 and
Hmm.
my other son who's 30.
Hmm.
My 30-year-old could care less about it, right?
Hmm.
My 32-year-old, who's my partner in our business, is obsessed with it. I mean, he's
Hmm.
like, "Do I need to go to the bathroom right now, or should I
Right.
wait 5 minutes?" Right? He's just like obsessed with it.
Well,
I'm
when's the
like,
last
dude,
time you went to the bathroom?
right? Exactly. And then he's like, "Oh no, I didn't even think of that."
I
Right?
didn't
Like,
think of
oh,
that.
dude. And I'm on the other side, right? I'm like, all right. I'm really fascinated by it. I'm not sure I want to be that attached to it,
Yeah,
but I really want to know what it's going to do for humanity and for
yeah,
workers and for people, right? So,
absolutely.
Christopher, my oldest son's fascination is it revolves around everything he does. Me, I just want to know what's it going to do to everybody. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So we're kind of so far apart on that.
yeah,
So I'm going to go with mine first because who
yeah.
cares? Chris is a 32-year-old kid. Um,
Yeah,
what is it going to do to everybody? Like you said, I mean, it's moving fast,
very
dude. It's
fast,
moving fast.
very fast. So
Big
there's
question out the gate. Sorry.
right, yeah, yeah, right.
Nothing big.
So
All right. Just
let me solve all and answer all the questions about AI. No, yeah. Gosh, I love this. Okay, so and so how do I put this? The technology changes, human nature doesn't change. Okay. And
Mm.
so all of the unless we see fundamental changes in human nature and how we value other humans, you know, then we can expect the technology to just give us more of what we already do. And
Mm.
so, and the tech way of saying that is AI is biased, right?
Mhm.
So it's only as good as the data that it's trained on. And then I would go a step further than that and say it's trained to believe certain things about the data that it's given, right? So all it is a is kind of like a giant magnifying glass, if you will, right? The only reason that ChatGPT does what ChatGPT does is because it was trained on a whole bunch of crap from the internet. Who wrote the internet? We did. Humans did. So all the foolery that you get from ChatGPT, it got that from somewhere, you know? And so I want to make sure that I'm clear here because I don't want to scare people from engaging with the technology, right? I think that when you're afraid of something, you should engage with it more because that's what helps me curtail my fears when I know about this thing. Um, but I also want to be very real and say, hey, you know, unless we unless we do something about it, unless we take an active role in knowing what this thing is and working with other people to know what this thing is and saying, well, what do we want this thing to do? Gary, I put that question back on you. What do you want this thing to do? Because that's what we
Well,
need right now. That's
yeah,
what we
yeah.
need.
You covered again. You open up more rabbit holes. I just wrote down about 47 notes. Um, you used the word trained, and
Hmm.
I remember many years ago because I'm way older than you. When the computers, right, when the computers first came out, it was like, well, where does all this come from and stuff like this? It just fascinates me. Um, that you could say, I want grandma's lasagna recipe from 1937. And in one instant, it just pops up with everything. It's like, dude, how did you know that? Right. So ChatGTP is even making that weirder. But you said the word trained. But
Trained.
I also remember they would use the term garbage in, garbage out. Right.
Hmm.
They used to always say that. Well, whatever you put in it, that's what you get out of it. So
Yeah.
I don't know what I want from it. I know what Chris wants from it. I know what my older son wants from it. He wants to use it to frame everything. It's like he knows what he wants to do, but
Mm-hmm.
he wants a second opinion on it. He wants that to kind of go, okay, let's expand on what you're thinking, Chris. And I think
Interesting.
that's how he uses it.
Why do you think he wants the second opinion and the framing for everything?
Well, for example, like he's got an apartment building that has 3 units.
Hmm.
So he wants to add 2 more units. So
Hmm.
he's gone down the rabbit hole with AI. I think he uses ChatGTP. I was going to ask about the different ones, but I think he
Hmm.
uses that about the different pros and cons of
Hmm.
building in California, what the cost will be, what
Yeah.
the future upside, what your future downside. So he's very analytical,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
I look at butterflies and an hour later I'm still looking at butterflies, right? He's not like that. He's very focused and analytical, right? So he loves to just go down the rabbit hole with, okay, well, if that's one way, then well, tell me this way. Or why is it like that? And what should I
Hmm.
do instead? You know what I mean? He's
Hmm.
that way with it.
I love that. I use it the same way. And if it's funny because the way that you just described how he's approaching the two-bedroom, I would literally do the same exact thing. And the reason why is because, well, one of the reasons is, before then, he would, before large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, all the ones that you were going to ask about, before that, you would have to go on Google and then go on Reddit or go on like a, realtor California state law specific forum, and you would have to find that information and you would have to, you know what I'm saying? So, or you could hire a human expert, somebody who knows this stuff. It's either going to cost you a lot of time or it's going to
Hmm.
cost you some money, potentially a lot of money, depending on what you're trying to do. But now, and I don't know if he's on the free version or the paid version. Paid version, $20 a month, man. I can get this thing that has been trained on a lot of real estate data and California state law and the ideal way to build a duplex. You know what I'm saying? And and
Hmm.
and you can get all that information in one, and from one source. And even when it doesn't know that stuff that well, like say for example, even if ChatGPT wasn't trained on all that stuff, there's that word again, trained. He could just upload the PDF that he doesn't want to read. So he could just upload the PDF to all the stuff. He can upload the photos he can upload his blueprints. He can upload all his stuff. And then he can say, chat, take a look at my specific crap. What do I gotta do? Don't tell me about like all the other duplexes. Tell me about my duplex at like 101 Mulholland Drive. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And I think that
Exactly.
that's the power. That's the
Yeah.
power though, because before then, you you just couldn't do that. The average Joe, we couldn't do that. Big up
Yeah.
executives could do it because they had whole teams of people under them. But now like we all kind of got the whole, Pharaoh scribe setup. We could just dictate into this thing. But seriously, like come
Yeah.
on,
But
like
see that takes me to my side of AI, right?
yeah.
That's his side. So my side is, okay, well, now you've just wiped out all those people under the CEO because he doesn't
Hmm.
need you anymore. You've just
Hmm.
wiped out a law clerk
Hmm.
because you don't need the law clerk to spend 6 weeks looking into that type of different cases for precedent to when you go into
Hmm.
the courtroom, right? So
Hmm.
what I look at it is, well, what's it going to do to all these people? Because now all of a sudden, like you said, I don't need 30 vice presidents underneath me anymore.
Right.
I type in, I just go, look, guys, I used to come to you
Hmm.
and ask you to get me these answers. Now I just go, hey, Kronk, what should I do? And it tells me, and it's
Right.
like, you're all fired. So
Right.
How does
Or
that affect us?
you can get all of the stuff that Kronk has done over the past 20 years in his career. You can take that out of, SharePoint OneDrive, upload it into the system. So now I'm talking to Kronk. I got all Kronk's data right here. And so okay, so where's this thing headed? And I think you really hit the nail on the head, right? The Western it's funny, I was talking to my friends about this. I feel like it's like, dang, I got to write a book about this particular topic, but um and and this is going to sound really crazy when I say it, but like screw it. Like we're on the podcast, we're going to say it.
It's all crazy, baby.
Right, it's all crazy, right? Right, we're talking about robots. It's all crazy. So, we really, as a species, right, humans, we really did a disservice to ourselves by viewing the value that we see in each other purely based on inputs and outputs. That is to say, you're as valuable as how many burgers you can churn out in an 8 to 10 hour period. That's how valuable you are. You're as valuable as how quickly you can drive this car from point A to point B. You're as valuable as how many students are getting A's in your class and then passing these standardized tests. That's how good of a teacher you are. The problem with that is once the robot can get in there and do those things, what do we need you for? I mean, and Western capitalist society, nothing against it, right? I'm a capitalist, bro. Like I drank the Kool-Aid, okay? But I'm saying all that to say, you know, the whole economic system is based on the belief that humans are as valuable as their outputs. Once that's gone, you need a new way to value humans. And I would venture to say the only thing there's two things that are going to keep people in traditional jobs. The first is the fact that if something goes wrong, it's easier for me to blame you. Because if a robot gets it wrong, well, do you blame the developer? Do you blame the person who put in the prompt? What if the internet wasn't working properly that day? Like, who do you blame? That's the black box ethical dilemma in AI. That is to say, we don't know how it arrived at the thing that it did, you know? And so it gives me a result that costs the company $50 million. You know, um, it's easier to blame the person than it is to blame the robot. That's the first thing. But the second thing is that the robot is cold. The robot doesn't wear the funny T-shirt on Fridays. Do you know what I'm saying? The robot doesn't get you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like your best work colleague gets you. And so in my book, I have a whole chapter on that. It's called The Human Edge. But it's basically all those aspects of our humanity that we take for granted because society, by definition, does not know how to value it. Those things are going to surge in value. I don't know how you quantify how loving or warm or empathetic of a person is. I don't know how you do that. That's a whole other topic. But the point is, though, is like that's going to be the determining factor because the robot can't do that. That's the one thing the robot can't do. Um, it can't do a lot of stuff now, but let's have this conversation in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And I
so
think I think that comes back to in one in one sense, let's talk about winning for old school work,
hmm
trade schools, plumbers, electricians, construction dudes. I mean, it's going to be hard for AI to replace those guys out the gate. Maybe a robot will swing in a hammer pretty soon.
right.
But like you said, I mean, when it goes to empathy, it's like, yes, we will have AI tell a robot how to do surgery from India here in America, and we'll have a lot of this, but it's going to take that nurse to come in and take care of you. I mean, that part of the empathy part, you're going to need some human touch. But a friend of mine, good friend of mine, is a really acclaimed heart surgeon, and I was
hmm
asking him about this, and he's been doing it 50 years. He just won't quit, right? And I said,
Yeah.
Doc, what's the difference between AI program robot doing a heart surgeon because he's perfectly, there'll be no mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And he says, Gary, that robot thinks it's been programmed when it goes in, this is the problem. And that's
Hmm.
all he's going to address. When
Yep.
I get in there and I go, oh, holy crap, we didn't see that valve or we didn't see this, he can't adjust on the fly yet.
Hmm.
Maybe he will be able to, but I can go in and now change what the game plan was. So I
Sure.
think there's still a lot of different areas where it's going to be tough to
Hmm.
get into the deep part of some of these things, isn't it?
Well, and so, it's funny. I also serve a learning and development organization, and I sent them a article. ChatGPT did this new learning feature, and so I said, "Hey guys, check this out." And there's a lot of skeptics in the chat, and one of them was like, "Well, they're doing this learning feature. They should have figured out the main problem with their system, which is hallucinations." And I said, "Well, you you better be very happy that this thing hallucinates, because
Mhm.
as soon as it doesn't, what are you here for?" And
Right.
so, the your heart surgeon friend, he's correct right now. Right now he's correct. And
Yeah.
and so, you know, do you envision a world where there's going to be like robot EMTs? Well, I'll ask the reverse question. I'll be like, "Well, what else are we going to do to fill the gap?"
Yeah.
There's already a healthcare gap. There's a healthcare gap. There's a student to teacher gap. There's gaps everywhere.
Yep.
And so, unless we fundamentally alter the way that we do business, which is not going to happen, what we're
Yep.
probably going to do is figure out a way to get the robot to do as much as it can, and then have a handful of people or a whole bunch of people doing a handful of work just to make sure that, to your heart surgeon friend's point, is that human in the loop is what they call that in the tech world, human in the
Mhm.
loop. But the problem with that is, I just I'm the kind of person who's like, I will plan for the worst case scenario, because then if it doesn't happen, then we're good. I don't live my life like that, but with certain things, I'm like, you know what? Let's just assume that this thing might eventually be able to do this. And I don't see why it wouldn't. If you look at all the other inventors, the Wright brothers' own dad told them they were stupid. You- and you probably took a plane 3, 4 weeks ago. You know what I'm
Of
saying?
course, of course. But
You
I
know?
think the industries are gonna see that happen the fastest is happening now is fast food restaurants. At one
Yep.
point you had
Yeah.
18 people on a shift in a fast food
Hmm.
restaurant. Pretty
Yep.
soon you're gonna have one or two,
Of
maybe
course.
just maybe just one to make sure the robot didn't break down or the delivery guy shows up or whatever. But you don't
Yeah.
need a cashier. You don't need a cook. You don't need
Yes.
anything, right? I mean, you've just now got rid of 14 people,
Yep. And you're
and
and
it's
and
that's scary.
and the overhead is always the most, so the business owners are in a great place, because I mean, so McDonald's, right? I mean, because
Yep.
the vision that you just gave me, to me, that technology already exists. That's barely even AI technology, right? That's basically a
Yep.
glorified vending machine, you know?
Exactly.
But it's like, I'm not, when I go to, so when I talk in my ChatGPT app on my phone, it's called natural language processing. It's that aspect of an AI that allows it to hear correctly what you're saying. And so when I do voice on the ChatGPT app, it gets the ums, it gets the ahs, it knows when to put an exclamation mark, it knows when to put a question mark. But when I do it on like text, voice to text in the iPhone, it sucks. It's like half the time it doesn't even get it right. And that's because ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT has trained and has better natural language processing. So I'm saying a lot to say the technology already exists for me to go up to the McDonald's, speak into the speaker, and then have it get exactly what I'm trying to do. Especially if I just say I want a number one large, with the fry. That's so simple. And so, yeah, I think, the skilled trades and the stuff that takes robotics and AI, sure. But even in that world, there's just some things where you're like, I give this 3 years, man. Because
Yeah.
McDonald's has already
Yeah.
tried doing it a couple times
Already. I mean, you
already.
walk into it, it started with COVID. You
Hmm.
walked in there and there were very few people, and the kiosks just
Hmm.
sprouted up overnight like
Yeah,
freaking flowers, right? I mean, boom, boom, boom. It's like, I'd like to order with a person, please. No, man. You either use your app or you use the
right.
kiosk, right? It's
Exactly.
like, uh-oh, well, I all right. And I don't like to do that, but you're forced to do it. And then
Yep.
you look back there and you're like, hey, bro, I didn't get pickles on my thing. It's like, yeah, man, sorry. There's no one
Right.
back here to talk to. But when I look at stuff like that, the thing that challenges me, and I want to ask you about the different types of chat, the different type of
Yeah.
AI and stuff like that.
Yep.
But first I'm kind of into this what I get in a fight with my son with all the time, right? We love to debate shit like this. And it's like, dude, all right, how do you know it's telling you the truth? How do you
Hmm.
know that when you ask it something, it's not messing with you because it already knows what you're asking, it knows your style, it knows how your mind works, and
Hmm.
it can tell you, it can play you any way it wants to play you. I mean, is
Hmm.
it there already where it's like thinking like, I know Chris, I'm gonna mess with Chris. Is it
That's so
there yet?
funny. I love that. So I use ChatGPT. That's like my main thing. Um, it it depends. So if I'm just asking a question, you know, um, I can ask it in the prompt to cite a source, you know. So I can say, um, question, give me top three research or blog articles that is going to speak in favor of what you're about to tell me. So you could just ask it to do that and it'll do it. But with ChatGPT specifically, and then Perplexity is another one, since you want to talk about the different types, um, they have research functions. So for the very serious stuff, right? So your son talking to this thing about the duplex, that to me sounds serious, right? Because there's
Yeah.
people's lives involved and there's a whole lot of money and a whole lot of time involved. To me, that's serious. So I would go in and I would specifically use the deep research function on ChatGPT because then it's going to give me a report that has seen it. Sometimes it does 20 to 30 blogs, articles, research journals, and it'll cite them in the output. Now sometimes it will cite something that is like dead, 404, can't find, but 8 times out of 10, it's giving you something that's current. And so, and I always say that's the way that the technology is now. Next year might be really good, you know? So you can either A, just ask it and it'll do it for you. Hey, answer this question, but then give me the top three sources that are in favor of what you're telling me so I can go and look. Or you could just use the deep research function and it'll take it like 10 to 15 minutes because it's actually researching. But then, yeah, it'll spit you out like a 5-page essay on the thing that you wanted, and it'll cite all the sources. And it'll so that's how I would answer the question. How do you know this thing isn't lying? Well, it's gonna on both of those ends, it'll link back to what it's claiming, so to speak.
What about the different ones? I have not tried this because I don't even know how to get any of them, Chat, GTP, or they, but I've gone down the rabbit hole of it because I'm just so fascinated by it. And what about would people say, well, if I use Gronk or if I use ChatGPT or if I use Microsoft's ones or whatever the multitudes of them are, and I ask it the same question,
Hmm.
I will get different answers.
Yeah, yeah.
Why is that? Why wouldn't it give you the same answers if it's pulling
Yeah.
from the same source, basically?
It gets back to that T word again. It gets back to how they're trained. And so, how they're trained and the data that they're trained on, and both of those sets of information are private. So the short answer is it's how they're trained and what they're trained on. The other short answer or the real answer is, but we don't know, you know? So, so we can kind of infer, and this is something Elon Musk was talking about a year or two ago. He was talking about ChatGPT. I think it was like shortly after he had his falling out with Sam Altman at OpenAI. But he was basically saying that you don't know what information they trained ChatGPT on in order to be ChatGPT like it is today. He's like, but you can kind of infer what it was trained on based on how it responds to you. You know, like it was probably trained on a whole bunch of stuff from the internet, and it was probably trained on classic literature. You know what I'm saying? Like all the
Mhm.
stuff that humanity deems valuable, if you will. And so, but but we don't. The reason why is because once again, yes, each of these are private companies, and they have access to certain sets of information based on the partnerships that they have, based on the agreements that they have, all that stuff. Um,
Thank you for making this all so layman for me, because I know this is like you could probably talk to AI geeks all day long and go down the rabbit hole to talk to my son
yeah,
Chris and
heck
go in
yeah.
a totally different direction. And then you're kind enough to talk to me and go, this old guy doesn't know. I got to go easy on his
I'm
brain
with
because
you, bro. Like, no, I'm the same way, man. Like, I'm still like, it's so funny because it's like, I was like, I want to learn how to do like the coding of the robot and I want to learn how to like make AI from scratch and stuff. And then you start to see all the junior developers losing their jobs. So it's like, even doing the coding is not even 3 years from now, it's not going to matter.
God, well, remember when they got rid of all the oil workers and stuff, all the drillers and all those guys, they go, well, you're just going to have to learn how to code. It's like,
Right.
dude, I'm a 58-year-old oil
Right.
rigger, bro. I'm
Exactly.
not going to code, man.
Right.
And now
Yeah.
it's like, hey, all you coders, all you dots and dashes and zero dudes are going to have to learn to do this. So like, no, man, it ain't going to happen. And that leads me to another question is like, someone went down the rabbit hole about Google, and someone was talking about how Google could disappear because Google doesn't have a grip on the AI. Isn't Google search just a lesser version of like Chat GTP?
Sort of. So this is kind of a this is a I don't know if it's like a debate, hotly discussed topic in the tech space in terms of what is or isn't considered AI, right? So, uh, I remember, and I'm aging myself now, right? But I remember when I did my first Google search ever, you know, and
You're so old, man.
I'm
Back in the
so
day,
old. I'm so old. Back
I
in the
could see
day,
your
man.
daughter rolling her eyes right now, going,
Right,
ah,
right,
dad.
exactly. I remember I remember when I did my first Google search and I thought it was magic. And I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy. Like anything I
Right.
want." And then we went down another rabbit hole which we're not going to talk about. But but Google
Right.
helped, make sure that we could get to certain things faster. And but after a few years of dealing with Google, now you just expect Google to do it, and it's no longer viewed as novel as it was when you did those first few searches. And so in the AI space, that's called the AI paradox, which is to say the things that we used to view as artificial intelligence, we don't really consider AI anymore. And so usually when you're talking with people about like, well, how to not be afraid of the robot, how to not be afraid of AI, you will tell them, well, technically you've been using AI this whole time. For example, GPS, if you went on Google Maps or Apple Maps to get from point A to point B, we used to consider that AI. I remember the very first time that my grandma she had the little navigation thing in the car telling her where not to go, and that was before Siri, right? And I thought that was cool. I was like, this car is like Starship Enterprise. It's so sick. But now you just expect that. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Yeah.
so it's so weird because I can kind of say, well, it technically is still AI, but the question is like, well, is it really? Because a lot of what AI is or isn't is based on how we feel about it. In a few years, ChatGPT, we might not even view ChatGPT as AI anymore until they do their whole AGI thing, and that's another topic entirely. But so yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
when Google got busted, right? I mean, the Google one of the Google founders' wives realized that he's a total douchebag and was hiding stuff about autism and they, had a big falling out. And so
Yeah.
she came to a realization that, oh wow, here I was thinking we were doing all this good for the world, but
Mm-hmm.
yet my husband's company can alter what you can find when you Google something and say, I want to
Exactly.
know if the jab causes autism, right?
Yep.
And it may take you down a different road that may be a little bit, you got to go way deep. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Can AI be messed with like that? Could Chat GTP be messed with like that? Do you think?
So I'm gonna say yes, two separate reasons. Okay. The easy yes is adversarial attacks, right? That's one of the main ethical considerations with AI, right? Well, like what if the war robot gets hacked and starts killing, friendly soldiers, right? But then there's ethics and morals
Yeah.
and belief systems and values. What do we decide? How do we code this thing so what we want to be the top page result becomes the top page result? If you look at DeepSeek, have you heard of DeepSeek?
No.
That's okay. So a few months ago, it was a Chat GPT competitor, but it came and was manufactured from China. And it made a lot of waves online, especially in like LinkedIn and Reddit and lots of tech circles, because it was built for pennies on the dollar, but it was excelling and having fewer hallucinations than ChatGPT was.
I
And
did
so,
hear about like that. Like the dude built this whole thing for $250,000 or something, and it usually costs billions or something crazy like that.
right. And so the point basically is that yes, this thing performs quote unquote better than ChatGPT. But when you ask it a question about Taiwan,
You ain't
it
getting it.
you ain't getting it right. Exactly. And so but that's the point. And that's why, I have the mission that I do. Because if everyday people like me and you are not included in how these things are created, then we are literally handing the future over to a bunch of people over here who do math, and we're trusting them. Say, hey,
Yeah,
man, I
yeah.
trust your values. I trust your morals. I trust your
Uh-uh.
ethics.
That's too
You know what's
dangerous, man.
right.
Yeah,
You
that's too
you
dangerous.
you know what's best for humanity. I don't need to tell you how I feel about it. You got this. And that sounds ridiculous. And that sounds
No.
ridiculous, but that's in essence what we're doing when we
Yeah.
decide not to even engage with the technology. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
so,
that's
yeah.
where was that the I had a question about money too, because I know
Yeah.
Google makes trillions of dollars, but
Yeah.
was that, since we're on this, was that the fight between Elon and Altman that one of them wanted to monetize it and the other was like, no, bro, if we can't monetize it, they're like, can't, it has to be a free thing, or someone will do just like what you're saying. Someone will be the main dude just because you can make $1 trillion a year doing it, right? I mean, is that what
Mhm.
their beef was, or
I honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't looked deep into the Elon Sam Altman beef at all, and I don't know why. I just haven't. But what I'll say is this, and this is what I
we were
find
too
very.
busy with Epstein, man. We
Oh,
were too busy with
dude,
Epstein.
release the Epstein files, bro.
Release
I
it,
need
man.
the
Release
I need the
everything.
Epstein files, and I need the Diddy tapes. The Diddy tapes, people aren't even
Yo,
talking about him anymore. The
I
Feds got
want
like
Diddy.
30
He's
years of Hollywood,
disappeared.
right? Like, okay,
What?
anyway.
Where'd he go? Chat
Right.
GTP. Where's Diddy? What
Where's Diddy?
happened to
Where's
Diddy?
Diddy? Yeah, no, but so the interesting thing about ChatGPT is the fact that it hasn't not only has it not performed or given a financial ROI since its release to the public, it hemorrhages money. I'm talking like hundreds of millions of dollars a month, bro. And so now that and so I give you like the line of questioning, right? If
Yeah.
you were a rich money bags person and you said, "Hey, Elroy, I want you to do this thing," and I do
And
the
by the
thing,
way, you're the first dude I'm going to call when I hit the lotto and go, bro, I want you to
right?
do this thing for me.
Yeah,
You're
right, right,
my
right.
guy.
I want you to do this thing. Thank you. I please keep me on the short list when you get the lottery money. I believe it.
All
Powerball,
day,
I
man.
believe it. But no, but yeah, and so I go and I do the thing for you, but the thing that I do is now it's not returning a profit. And beyond that, it's costing you hundreds of millions of dollars a month. But you keep giving me money to do it. Why do you keep giving me money to do it, Gary? Why?
Because I know that once this works, this will be the end all be all. This is the thing. So I don't care. I everything bleeds initially, right? Whether you're
Hmm.
Henry Ford and you were bleeding until you came up with the assembly line.
Yes.
Whatever you are, you start a new business, it's going to bleed. But when you know something is worth hundreds of trillions of dollars,
Yep.
you'll feed it, right?
Yep, exactly. And so that to me is the point that, they're playing a long game strategy. And so it's
Yeah.
like while they're still having to play that, we should learn about this and talk with our families about it, and I'm gonna do the I'm gonna do the president thing, and you shouldn't, we should.
So
But yeah.
why isn't this being taken over by governments? Why don't the government say, you know what, man,
Hmm.
this is too expensive. It's too important. I'll let Elon send rockets into space and I'll shut down NASA so we could just pay Elon and Bezos to shoot shit into space, right? But
Yeah.
this thing, I'm sorry, man. We we've got tanks. We're just gonna have to take this thing
Yeah.
because it's that big of a deal. Like you said, all of a sudden China or my bro over in North Korea. I love Kim
Hmm.
Jong, and he's
Hmm.
had a little bit too much Cavassier, and he's like, AI.
Right.
What does New York look if it's on fire? I mean,
Right. When would be the best time to get New York? And
exactly.
so like not funny but hilarious. And
Right.
it's
Exactly.
it's to answer your question directly, it already has been taken over by governments. It's just the
Uh,
United States is the latecomer, right? So it was
huh.
twenty
Hmm.
fourteen or 2017. I think it's 2017. But there's this game in Chinese culture called Go. It's called Go. And it's like chess, but it's more complex. And it's as complex technically as it serves like a cultural, spiritual vacuum in Chinese culture. So if you're a Go champion in China, you're like kick ass. It's like if you're like a Russian chess player, but like a Chinese Go grandmaster champion, you're like, you know. And so needless
Is
to
that like
say,
Pokemon Go? Is that like Pokemon Go?
not even close, not even close.
Okay, just
Oh
checking.
man,
Because my
that was a
kids love
fun
that, man, when
that
they're
was a
little.
fun time to be alive, man. When Pokemon Go came out and you see like the people walking around, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But so anyways, Google created an AI called AlphaGo, and it was an AI that was trained on reinforcement learning, and that's just a fancy term to say that the AI learns by playing a bunch of games against itself and losing and critiquing its own performance. And so basically, long story short, AlphaGo beat like China's top, like the Michael Jackson of Grandmaster Go champions. You know what I'm saying? And it was in that moment that the Chinese government said, F it, the whole country's doing AI. Like the whole country. And so the what do they call him? I would say the dictator, but they
He
basically
is.
right. So the dictator of
Yeah.
China
Yeah.
All, in investing in AI startups, investing in AI enabled infrastructure, and they can have that sort of top down approach because they're a communist dictatorship. So the
Yeah.
government can literally just do that, versus in the United States, whether or not we're a real democracy or not, we have a democracy. And that means that certain things move a lot slower,
Hmm.
and because we talk and care and believe in privacy and all these other things that make our nation awesome. Regardless of how we feel about Donald Trump, the fact of the matter is that I think it was 100, is it 100 billion? The Stargate project, to basically AI-ify and AI enable the United States of America. But a lot of critics are viewing that as as quite totalitarian and borderline dystopian. But so I say a lot to say that the reason why it might seem like the United States is slow is because our governing structure does not, but by the grace of God, I would say, does not yield itself over to just straight up top down takeovers as easily and quickly as it does in China. Because in China,
Yeah.
the dictator can just say, "We're all doing AI. F it. Go do your plans, and I want to see you in 2 weeks, and I'm gonna give you
Yeah.
the money tomorrow. We can go." So what they sacrifice in privacy and I guess I would say human dignity, they make up for in speed. So
Yeah.
as far as the as far as like geopolitically, like who was the first person on the scene with AI from a government perspective? China. And that's why Trump made that multiple billions of dollars of investment in the Stargate project, because now you're kind of in this like damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. Because if China
Yeah.
got it and you don't have it, you're fucked, you know?
Yo, big time.
But
Big
big
time.
time,
Big time.
big
Big
time.
time.
But but we still have to somehow work through how, like you said at the very beginning of our conversation, how does this thing actually serve us? And on paper, that's what needs to be done. But we just saw how this election season was a few months ago. We
Hmm.
don't we don't like each other.
No, man.
you know?
I was just going to say it doesn't matter who is in the White House right now. The other side is going to try to fight them. They don't,
Right.
even if it's good, even if
Ye-
they know it's good.
Yes.
If
Yes.
Biden would have put it up there, the Republicans would have been screaming bloody
Right.
murder. Trump puts it up, the left screaming bloody murder. It doesn't
Yes.
matter. And
Right.
like you said, China doesn't have that problem.
They don't have
The
that
other
problem.
thing is I want to touch on is energy,
Yeah.
right? Just one
Yep.
side hates energy, the other side loves energy, right? And
Yep.
it takes massive amounts of energy. So,
Yeah.
Chairman, we could just go, hey, man, I'm going to put an AI plant here and a nuclear plant right next to it everywhere. I'm going to have a
Yeah.
thousand nuclear plants right next to a thousand AI plants
Yeah.
next week,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
so their ability to exponentially explode this and build this out while we're still yelling at each other is
Mm-hmm.
insanity, right? I mean, it's
Yep.
complete madness. We
Exactly.
we, we got to wake up and go, dude, this is so much bigger than your freaking issues about whatever it is you're having
Whatever
problems
it
with.
is, 100%. And so I couldn't agree with you more. And it's interesting because it's like, it used to be where it's like if there was like a bigger looming threat, people would kind of just like drop their shit and band together, right?
Look
It's
at
like
9/11. In 9/11, we actually got along for like 2 weeks, right? When the
right,
building, when the towers
exactly
came down,
right.
it's like
Because
we're
we
all
didn't
like
hate each other
hugging and
anymore.
kissing.
Right. Because we
Right,
didn't hate each other. Now we hate the people over there, you know?
right.
And so
But
it's
now
almost
we
like,
just can't get it
right, we can't
together.
just
It's
figure
like,
that out.
dude.
And so, yeah, no, I had a moment where it's like, I was having a beer with my friend Gayla. She's more seasoned than me. I would say she's older than me. But I asked her, yeah, I was like, you can be honest with me because we're gonna be friends no matter what. I was like, did you vote for Trump? And she told me what she said. And then I said, you know what? That's okay. You know, I don't because it's like I get why people are so pissed, but it's like I want people to not think so. right now. Like
Yeah.
you can't be so in your present feelings
Yeah.
that you are not thinking about what the next generation is going to get. I'm thinking
Mhm.
about my kids. I'm thinking about your kids. I'm thinking about your kids' kids. They
Yeah.
can't believe in the stability of the dollar anymore. They can't
Mhm.
believe in politics anymore. They can't believe in the job market anymore. Shit, they
Mm-mm.
can't even believe in coding anymore because the AI
Mm-mm.
is going to be able
Mm-mm.
to do all the coding. And so,
Mhm.
my thing is, it's like, okay, so what are we giving the future generation to believe in? And then we wonder why they don't care about shit because there's like
Yeah.
nothing to care about, you know?
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
then you look at just not to get too far off that
go
that
for
subject,
it.
but you look at the mental health
Yeah.
of people under 30 years old. You
Yeah.
you look at where their beliefs are, what their approval, I mean, what their belief in the future is, what they think their future is, the
Yeah.
depression levels, the suicide levels. I mean, they're just,
Yes.
and the scary, the sad thing is, it's all self-inflicted. That's what's
Exactly.
so mind-boggling.
Yep.
It's like, dude, you're laying this shit on yourself because it's false evidence appearing real, man. It is
Yep.
false
Yep.
evidence appearing real. And that
Yep.
fear is driving you in a direction
Yep.
that is keeping you from looking, like you said, at the big picture. Let's all just
Yes.
step back for a minute. All right?
Yep.
Let's just step back and
Yep.
take a look at the big picture about what's happening.
Hmm.
And we gotta all hold hands, sing Kumbaya just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
otherwise we're
And
going.
ironically, that's the one thing that the fucking robot can't do. You know,
Yes.
the one thing that the robot
Yep.
can't do
Yep.
is kumbaya, you know?
Yep.
And that's something that we have to do. And I tell people, you don't have AI problems. You have human problems. You don't got a problem with this robot. You got a problem with the people who are making the robot. That's a different thing. It's not about whether or not the robot can. It's about who's making this fucking robot. Do you know what I'm saying? And so,
Exactly. Exactly.
in the the thing that's not super sexy in the AI space to like most people, but what I love is the ethical stuff. The zeros
Yeah.
and ones, it's like, that's fine, but the morals, the ethics, the who gets to decide. I was,
See, that's my thing too. That's
yeah,
my thing
I
too.
love it. That's why we're jamming right now, man. That's why we're jamming. Yeah.
So you were going to say something. I cut you off. I'm sorry about the
No, no,
ethical
no. But
stuff and about
I
what
was
you
gonna
were doing with
say
that.
it. I applied to do I applied to do a TED talk, and I basically told them like a hypothetical scenario, and I was like, well, what happens if the robot needs to do da 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 da? And I could tell they were kind of in their feelings about it, but I let them know I was like, the farther and the more advanced that this technology gets, well, what does more advanced mean? More advanced means it can do more complex tasks that humans used to only be able to do. And so, but the higher up these tasks get, they are not simple input, output, pickles to the left, pickles to the right problems. No,
Hmm.
these are help me fix my marriage, robot. Tell me if I'm a man, robot. Uh, uh, hey, robot, what are your views on Israel and Palestine? And then
Hmm.
the question then becomes, well, who told the robot what it should say when you ask it about Israel and Palestine?
Hmm.
And so that's why for me, like, yeah, the mission is 1 million people at least. You know, it's shit. It's the least we could do. We're all going to be
Least we
impacted
could
by
do.
this thing.
See, it's all Will Smith. We are all Will Smith, and it's iRobot, and
I
we're all
robot.
going right, and we're all going, dude, don't you see that? We're all
Yes.
going, don't you see that? And everyone's like, no, it's totally cool. I love this robot. It babysits my child, all this stuff. And Will Smith's going, don't you see that, dude?
Yes.
Right? Well,
Yes,
you've been amazing. This
exactly.
time's going way too fast. I can't let you go without touching on a couple things real quick. If you got
Go
a
for
couple
it.
more minutes,
Yeah,
okay.
go for it. Go for it.
Uh, we got a book. The White Collar Guide to AI Survival, a
Yeah.
transformative guide for working professionals
Yeah.
aiming to skyrocket their careers and thrive in the age of AI. That's your
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. Yeah,
Tell me,
100%.
tell me about it.
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to do a podcast, but then I was like, I got two young kids, so
Yeah.
I can't afford studio time, so it'll never be quiet. And so I was like, well, how can I help the most people? And then I was like, you know what? I got a really good job, the job that changed my life, at a very good organization, globally respected. And the differentiator between me and the lady who's now a very good friend of mine, actually just hung out with her a couple weeks ago. Um, she was like, Elroy, it's because you can help us with the robot. And she just said it plain. And I talk about in the early pages in that book, Microsoft Work Trend Index 2024. It was 72% of hiring managers would rather hire somebody with less experience, but who has AI aptitude. And so
Wow.
the people who are struggling to get jobs, the easiest thing that you can do for yourself is to fast track what AI means for your specific role or your specific industry. And that's what that book gets people to do. If they just got laid off and they need something right now, they can do the whole book in 30 days. It's kind of like daily devotional style, right? So
Mhm.
it's here's the chapter on this. Oh, by the way, couple paragraphs. This is called natural language processing. But go do this thing, you know? And so it teaches people to not only get work, or excuse me, get experience and aptitude in generative AI, but it also teaches them how to market those skills, right?
Mhm.
How to show off the fact that you actually know a thing or two about AI as it relates to banking or AI as it relates to marketing or whatever. Because I want,
Could you? You got to take. I got to take you back.
yeah.
What? So what is that job? People who are looking for job when they go to meet to the person who's the hiring agent or whatever that is.
Mhm.
This person is more interested in uh, 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 their cognizance or their knowledge of AI over their current abilities for the job. Is that what you said?
Yeah, because you can and don't take my word for it. Go Google Microsoft Work Trend, or excuse me, yeah, Microsoft Work Trend Index 2024. And yeah,
Wow.
and you'll read it right there. Microsoft did that. And so
Wow.
but yeah,
That's crazy. So yeah,
it
no
makes
one's prepared for that shit, bro. That's why your book is big deal because no one, I mean, I, if you ask 1,000 people that, 999 would go, dude, that's ridiculous, right? That doesn't even make sense. So, but that is so believable because let's face it, where's the future going? These guys aren't stupid. They know it would be like someone who didn't know how to type,
yep,
back in the day. Miss, would you type this letter for me? What's your
right,
words per minute typing, right? I mean,
right.
if you don't have those skills that you know are going to be necessary moving forward, why am I going to hire you now?
Right. And it's so weird because it's like the people that are like my age, like millennials and younger, like they haven't a lot of them haven't connected those dots yet. Like they're doing Chat GPT for kind of like random stuff for personal projects, but they haven't thought, oh man, like this stuff that I'm doing with AI could totally help me get a job. And I wasn't going to write the book because the trend is like, the traditional 9 to 5 is going away and all that stuff is valid and true and people are focused on their small business and their side gigs. Like I get it. Like do that. Like I am too. But then I started seeing all these TikToks about people applying for like thousands of jobs and not getting an interview. And I was like, so do you guys want a job or not? Because it's like I can't sit here and tell like if you want to be employed or if you're trying to do like the thing. So I was like, let me just make this book. And I have done a shitty job at marketing the book. I'm not gonna lie. Like people ask like, oh, how the book sales going? It's like I wrote the book to help people because I figured that if I get on a podcast and talk about it, people might actually read it if they know somebody who wants to get a job. Like your friend just got laid off, give them the book.
Yeah,
You just got laid off, read the book.
yeah.
But
Now,
yeah, that's cool.
where can I find the book? Where can I get the
Amazon.
book?
Amazon, yeah.
Amazon.
It's
And
strictly
what's
on
and
Amazon.
All right, I'm gonna go Google this and get a
Yep.
picture of this and post this picture
Thank
because let's
you.
face it, I do not care, and my son and I go down this rabbit hole, and I go down it with everybody because I'm obsessed with this on a different level than he is. But
Hmm.
dude, if you are not preparing for this, like I'm a real estate broker for 35 years. My son and I own a real estate company and a property management company. He's starting a construction company because he knows well, you're going to need people to build stuff, man. I don't care. You need houses, you need to fix stuff, you need an
Yeah.
actual person because real estate realtors are gone. I mean, you don't need a realtor.
Hmm.
It's like you didn't need a travel agent anymore. I mean, you don't. So there's things that are going away.
Yeah.
Um, and if you're not paying attention to it, you're crazy. You know,
Yeah.
if for some reason you think it's woo woo out there, it's
Hmm.
coming like a freight train, man.
And it's
It's
already
coming
here.
so fast.
And
Yeah.
it's already here. We're talking about it. We just spent an hour talking about it. That's how real it is. We're not speculating. We're speculating on
Yeah.
some things, but a lot of these things I'm going to do as soon as I get off the call.
So, all right. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna wrap this up right now because you've been awesome. So, all right, Elroy, how are we? There are 8 billion people on the planet, and I think 7 billion of them have a cell phone. So, how are we going to get 1 billion people into the Elroy Waters program? How are we going to get 1 billion people? Forget a million. I'm up in it already. This is like a telethon. This is like the old telethon days. We're going to do a pledge. How do we get 1 billion people to tune in and say, Elroy, all right, you show me how we do what we got to do with this thing. Make this thing work.
Wow. This is cool. Okay, this is God teeing me up for an opportunity. So, um, I have decided that I got to get better at social media. And so I put together a framework to help whoever needs help navigate job displacement and loss of jobs in the AI space. And so I guess the easier way to say that is I got out of a conversation with an enterprise client literally 3 days ago, 3 days ago. They were like, well, hey, we can't have you automate dysfunction. So help us automate our processes. And then once our internal processes are optimized, then we want to put the AI on top of that so that it's helping us, not automate dysfunction. I was like, that's great. That makes perfect sense. But I got a question for you. I'm like, what? What happens when we do that in the finance department? And then you realize that the only reason you had 10 finance people was because they were working and managing dysfunction. If my brand promise is to not have people fear this thing and I get in there and I'm literally the harbinger of all their fears manifested, I am the scum of the universe. So
Yeah.
if you want to help me solve this problem, start by going on LinkedIn and follow me on LinkedIn because over the next 90 days, I'm going to be documenting and asking people for their feedback on this framework that I'm calling AI mindedness, AI minded enterprise, AI minded small business, AI minded entrepreneur, um, AI minded professional is actually what's in the book, How to Become an AI
Love
minded
that.
professional. And
AI minded.
AI minded. And yeah, because I don't like AI first, because I'm human first. Human first, AI minded. Um, but yeah, go to LinkedIn, Elroy Waters. You see big old afro. Follow me, and and
Dude,
then
I was going to mention that afro is sweet. I mean, it
hell
doesn't
yeah,
even
thank
move. Like
you.
like a lot of times they move like when you shake your head. The dude, it didn't even move. It's just like
Thank you.
dialed
It's
in,
real.
dude.
People ask like, is it real? Like, yeah, it's real.
Dialed in. It is
Thank you,
sweet,
bro.
man.
Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, no, just
So,
just go follow me on LinkedIn because that's going to be the central hub for where I'm running everything. But yeah, I'm going to be posting YouTube videos about it, and I'm going to be asking people who are plugged into my social media, what do you think? Can you see this working on your job? Can you see this working in your organization? And there's going to be a lot of opportunities there for people to buy in because before we do anything technical, we need to agree on how we should approach this thing.
mhm.
And
Because I was going to ask you, is like there an app that you just, there's an app for everything. Like there's an app, just an Elroy Waters AI minded app, and we all signed into it, and we
oh
all just
man,
build that
you're
community,
get you're
right? We
getting
build
rid of
that
my secret sauce
community.
because I
Oh,
had the
shoot.
I
Shoot.
I, I
Okay, then
had I
I'll
had
just
the
drop it.
community. I had the community, but I had to pivot away from the community. I did have the
Uh,
community though when I initially put stuff in. But the reason I moved away from the community model is just because that's like not where people are. And so I was like,
Yeah,
okay, if people are already on socials, see me on
yeah.
social media, and then once we have a critical mass of people, then I'll create the app. I think I put the cart before the horse last time.
Yeah. And you'll get a bunch of Karens and Chads, and you'll just get a bunch of just negative Nancy's in there. And it's like, dude, that is not the purpose of this. All right, you're smarter than me, whatever. We're getting a pissing contest. But, bro, this is not what this is for. This is for
Exactly.
to get all of us to do better, have better, work through
Together.
this process, right? Together.
Together.
And
Yeah.
and take that shit somewhere else, man. I don't,
Yep.
it's not what we're doing here. So,
Yep.
you're beautiful. I love everything about you. So I lied earlier because, like I said, I'm a real estate broker, so I'm a liar. Um, I said I had one. Sorry, I said I had one question. I actually have two. So this is my last question. I promise
Go
to let
for
you
it.
go. You've been awesome. So, Elroy, if you were gonna leave us with a thought, if you just said, "Hey, man, this is like my favorite saying," or this is something that's tight to my heart, or a message, just a thought of something that really means something to Elroy that's just in your heart, man. What would you like to leave us with as we hasta luego?
Man, I'm gonna leave you with this because I heard it a couple of weeks ago and it stuck with me. And then I heard it in a bunch of movies and TV shows, and I was like, this must be God telling me to like make this my thing. Margaret Mead, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
Bam.
Bam.
Right on.
I was like,
Right
snaps,
on.
snaps for Margaret Mead, y'all.
Right. I just got goosebumps, man. I got God chills because it's so true. It's so true. It's so
Yeah.
true. And we just keep banging our heads together. It's like, why?
I
Why
think
are
we're
you
gonna fix
letting
it
this
though.
happen?
I think it ends today on this conversation. It that ended today. And yeah, if we ever wanted an opportunity for a super big threat to humanity to pull us all together, well, hello, the robots are right here. We already got it.
Right? They hate that, man. They hate us all getting along. It's like black ants and red ants in a jar. They
Right.
just want to keep shaking it. And when they don't shake
100%.
it, we all just climb upon each other and make our little ant holes and have a great time. But once they start shaking it, it gets
Hmm.
crazy, right, brother? So, all right, this is great. Everybody, you've just, man, just had the wisdom and the love of Elroy Waters. He has built a career defined on innovation, humanity, and faith. And he's a good man. And we're gonna get this 1 million people. We're gonna get the billion people. We're gonna put this together. Look for Elroy Waters on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Friend
Yep.
him, follow him, whatever it is that you do on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn too. This will be on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Um, because Elroy saves the world. That's my new
We save
motto.
the world. We save the world.
But we need a leader, man, because we're all screwed up. So,
We
all
got
right,
this.
everybody, this has been so much fun. Elroy, I really appreciate it, man. This has been really great.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for, like I said, making an old guy feel like peace, guys. See you soon. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks again for joining us on another episode of What If You Could podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and give us any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. See you next time.